All right, so welcome. Let's get started. It's good to be back and cranking. And today is brought to you by the Psoas. I often visit the Psoas, but particularly Amy was talking about hip flexors. I know Sarah has hip flexor issues. And just as a little review, Psoas above, as below or something, I don't know. You see this guy? There we go. All right. So I've stand up straight, baby. And you're kind of tilting a little bit. You're listening. All right. So I created this, little psoas effect here. It's a big muscle and it's deep. So it's not like something, you've got the glutes back here and they're kind of like a bunch of layered guys. The piriformis is under here, and that one often gives us trouble back here. It attaches to right at the tailbone, the sacrum, and over here at the top of the outer thigh bone. So sometimes when we feel, I've lost some of my little sticky spots here, then the glutes kind of pile on to make the little bump, right? And when we're rolling out the balls on the glutes, we feel the glutes, but then eventually if we start to roll like right over here by the upper trochanter, we get that little, and that's a piriformis, and sometimes kind of roll in here if you can move the muscle apart. But the psoas then is the biggest muscle to attach the upper body with the lower body. It's a big, strong muscle. And it attaches up here right about, it's called 12th thoracic vertebrae, T12. Right up here at the bottom, you feel the bottom of the ribs right here. Now think about what else is here. You have this dome-shaped diaphragm. That's the breathing diaphragm that goes up and down. So when you inhale, the diaphragm kind of pushes down, which makes it appear like your belly is inflating, and then it pulls up. And so that's the muscle. The lungs are then on top of that, and the heart's on top of that. So sometimes they talk about the diaphragm and the heart are connected by the pericardium, and the diaphragm and the psoas are connected. So that's why the breath is so important, because it affects everything. Now, a lot of times when I was feeling some funky stuff going on, or like, I don't know, catches, and some of it was I was hitting sideways, but I feel like a short psoas is often what's going on. And sometimes with your bursitis, I think a shortened. So it's not so much that it's tight, yeah, but it's a strong muscle, but it can get short. So when we, hunch over and round over, this stays short. When we sit, the psoas stays short. So that's why sometimes when you stand up, if you've been sitting a long time, and I call it the unfolding, and I'm kind of like, I have to get, it's an age thing. But at any rate, it then comes down here, the pelvis, what's all complicated in here with the organs and everything. The psoas attaches to the iliacus, which is kind of right along. You can sometimes dig in and find that, the top of the iliacus. They blend and come together and connect both down here. So a lot of times when this is tight or short, it will pop forward, which will cause a pull on the back and cause you to push the thigh bones forward as well. So it's all connected in there. And yeah,
doesn't get enough exercise and sits all day with his legs crossed. Oh, he can't walk or walking.
Yeah, keep going with that. I'm gonna pull the rock out of the door. Jill's talking about her dad sits all the time, and the psoas is so important for walking.
Pulling all of this together.
Yeah.
And allowing you to do this.
Yeah. She's talking about, I'll tell the online folks at home.
Oh God. Oh.
All right. There, we're still on.
The comment hit. Oh no, the comment.
Did you guys feel that? Jill was screaming like, that's right. All right, well, that's exciting. What Jill was talking about is often if your psoas is short, then you'll see people, the shufflers, like the old people walk, where they're shuffling. they're kind of having to use the psoas to push them, right? And
Or they're just using their legs.
right, but they're overusing the psoas, and you'll see when people start to do the waddle where they're walking like this, right? And so your center of gravity is shifting side to side like this, whereas we want the center of gravity to be here so that then you push off. And the psoas really should not be firing that much in walking. If you're using when you're walking like this, and if it's short, it will affect the walking. That's what will affect it, because you get fatigued. So that's why when people are walking like this and they're like, I'm so tired, and it's like, because you're having to like use muscles, you want these muscles to work, you know, and yeah, overusing the quads will do it. So yeah,
So we did the Grand Canyon.
yeah.
All the way down to the bottom, and the next day we walked back up.
Mhm.
They can always tell people who walked, did the whole way, because they're either walking like a penguin or John Wayne.
Jill was saying she did the Grand Canyon walk up and down, and they said they can tell the people who did the hike because they either walk like a penguin or they walk like John Wayne, where he's got a cob up his butt, right? Yeah.
So all of that discussion of the psoas.
Yeah.
And all that together.
Yeah, it does. So it can be overused. So it's a really important muscle, but we can't often get at it directly. So we have to kind of be sensitive to lengthening it. And then Doug Keller talks about the psoas and the guys in the band, you know, I mean, it's like all these other things have to work, have to fire and do their job so that we play with it. So we'll just play with the psoas. Now, you know, why do we care on another level? Physical, yes, we want to feel better, but when the body is in alignment, when everything's kind of humming together and we've got things tuned up, I'm just a little bit better person. You know, I'm just a little nicer to people. I tend not to want to snap at people, you know, and shake my fist in the car and things like that. It's just when we're out of alignment, everything starts to, people get on our nerves and, you know, I'm not just the best I can be. So anytime we can tune up the physical body will help us be more in line with ourselves, with others, and with this sort of bigger energy, you know, whatever we call that thing we can't understand. So take a good seat, any way that sits well for you, and just make sure you're sitting up. You might want to sit on a little edge of a blanket that will help lift your hips and will help your hips a bit to help you tilt the pelvis. So what we want to do is, if this is like a bowl, if the pelvis is like a bowl, we want to tilt the pelvis slightly forward. I have no ability to move that here, so that we're not. I know that's the little hip replacement on there, on the metal connector there. But when to tilt the pelvis slightly forward to get a curve in the low back, that helps let the psoas go back. We want to keep the psoas back. That's why we pull the thighs back. It's why we tilt the pelvis. Now tilt it, keep that tilt, but tailbone moves down to firm the pelvic floor, not grip, but firm. Tone, I guess is a better word. And you feel a little bit of tone in the low belly, not so much that you're losing the low back curve. And then from there, you lift up out of the pelvis. So the whole side body lifts up, head of the arm bones move back, shoulders slide, shoulder blades slide down the back, bottom ribs kind of pull back and I call them like tuck them in, keep them quiet. Then the collarbones lift and spread, and the top of the shoulder blades widen and broaden. And from there, then it's just easier to take a fuller, deeper breath. A fuller, deeper breath also leads to a little bit nicer person. Getting enough oxygen into the blood, enough blood into the brain. And you know, that's why when people are upset, we say, slow down, take a breath. It's not as easy as it sounds when you're in crisis, when you're in freaked out mode. And then draw your palms together in front of the heart center. One soft Om, inhale. Om. Release the hands, flutter the eyes open. So lie on your back. You can spread a blanket under you if you want a little bit of padding. If you need something for your head, so how do you know if your chin's like going way back and you're pinching the neck? But don't put a big pillow under your head, maybe just a thin blanket if you need that. Have your strap near you so you can grab it. Knees bent, feet on the floor. Oh, does that feel good or what? And just notice how the back connects to the floor. How your sacrum, are you heavier on one side of your sacrum, the back of your hips, or another? Just notice, not so much to fix yet, but to notice. Notice your shoulder blades. Usually I have one shoulder blade, it feels like it's sliding off to the side, and the other one is a little more tucked in. See if you can tuck both shoulder blades underneath you, and that helps you lift the chest a little bit. Then the top of the shoulders can move towards the floor. All right, so first just start with an exhale, and as you exhale, you're not trying to flatten the back so much, but you're reducing the low back curve a little bit. Don't smash the back into the floor, but try to make concave in the belly, right? All the tacos and the margaritas, you're gonna have to move them around and try to pull. If you can imagine your psoas, you know where it is in your body, take it towards the floor without smashing your back. Do you feel the core engaged there a little bit? And then inhale, release. So it's a little bitty hip flexors, tilts. So as you exhale, pull the belly button in and the side ribs move down to the floor. Try to keep the back waist a little bit light on the floor. And then inhale, tilt your sits bones towards the heels and arch the low back a lot beyond your normal, not till it hurts. So do that again, pull it in on the exhale. Really think, whoosh, and inhale, extend and stretch the sits bones towards the heels, arch the back a little bit. All right, come to neutral, which is the low back is just slightly off the floor. The side ribs are moving towards the floor, and lift your knees so the hands are on top of the knees and widen the knees apart. And then make little circles out to the side. And notice, yeah, so hands on top of the kneecaps and then little circles way out to the side. You don't need to bring it all the way together, but think more about drawing the circles out to the side without bringing the kneecaps up towards the ceiling. Kind of wide circles, with a wide, wide, wide. Yeah, and reverse the circle. There you go. Debbie, put your hands on top of your knee. There you go. There you go. All right. And then release, put the feet back on the floor. Again, so you want to tilt the sits bones towards the heels so the back waist comes off the floor. That helps to get the psoas into the back body more. Keep that and pull the side ribs towards the floor without dropping the back waist to the floor. That's engaging core. Keep that and stretch the arms overhead and notice if anything happens to the back. Like, do you overarch the back or do you flatten it? See if you can keep it neutral. And exhale, lower the arms to the towards your feet, hands towards your feet. Inhale, reach them up and over, thumbs towards, if you touch the floor, that's great. But notice if you're changing your low back relationship at all, keep that stable. Keep thinking about sucking the psoas to the back of the body. It's like dropping the belly button down. All right, and then release the arms to the side, stretch both legs long, tilt your pelvis so the back of your thighs come closer to the floor. They might even be on the floor so that you've got a pretty good arch. Flex your feet, toes pointing towards the ceiling. Push through the feet. And then you're overarching for me right now to get my legs down and situated. My lower ribs are popping out. So keep the legs where they are. Exhale, pull the psoas down. Imagine you can know what that means. and then pull the side ribs down without losing anything in the hips and the legs. Do you feel that? I find that to be a fair bit of work. And then we're going to do tree on the floor. So bend your right knee and place the sole of the foot somewhere on the inside of the leg, not your highest yet, but close to it. And your right hand on the inner right thigh, and press down with the right hand as you lift up with the right leg. So your hand and your leg are pressing into each other. Does that make sense? The right hand is on the inner thigh, and you're trying to lift your right knee, but push down with your right hand. Give it some resistance. And notice if you're rocking over. So keep your outer left hip back down. Don't let it roll over. And the left leg is working like you're standing. And your neck is what, Jill?
Not doing something.
Yeah, your neck and jaw are not doing the pose with you. Yes, I'm good at that. So the left leg is staying strong like you're standing on it. So you have to work the left leg from the core of the pelvis all the way down through the foot. Now, if you can, draw your knee up to the point that you can hold on to your right ankle. Then flex the right foot and just hold on to the ankle and open the knee out without torquing your shoulders. No jaws here. Keep your left side down. It wants to roll up, so you can lift your right knee up. It doesn't have to go out. Do you feel this? And then push the foot into the leg into the foot. Oh, you keep pulling the ankle up with your right hand. And stretch the left arm overhead. One long left psoas here. Keep pulling the psoas, what you imagine to be the psoas down. So the inner low belly moves back towards the spine without flattening the back.
Foot and our left arm away from each other, like we're on a rack.
Yes, Jill said, pull the left foot and the left arm away from each other like you're on a rat. And Amy, you can push into the wall with your left hand, like flip your, yeah. That feels really good, right? I love that. All right, and release and stretch out long. And notice the difference. You feel a difference on one side than the other? Just notice. Some of your hips look a little higher on one side than the other. All right, let's switch. So your first version of the tree is this, is you don't pull the left foot all the way up, somewhere around the knee. It can go up to the knee maybe, or on the calf, but somewhere. And the right leg now is a standing leg, so it's working. You're spreading the toes are pointing straight up to the ceiling, and you're excuse me, pushing through the sole of the right foot, and the inner right thigh is moving down to the floor as much as the outer right thigh is moving to the floor. It's like you have a little staple, little horseshoe staple over there, and it's pushing it down. Now push the left foot into the left leg, and your left hand is just somewhere on the inner thigh, the inner left thigh. I'd like to put my right hand on my right hip bone to remind me not to roll that up, to keep the outer right hip down. So now it's like I'm pushing the left hand away from me to get a little length in the inner left thigh. Keep the low back kind of a little bit arched up, but not crazy, and the side ribs are moving down. And then you can draw the left knee towards the shoulder to hold on until you can hold on to your left ankle. Now, if that's impossible, that's what the handy dandy arm extender called a strap can do. You can put a strap around the ankle and give yourself, because some people have longer torsos and shorter arms. Don't forget your standing leg. I just felt mine roll out. Keep it straight up and down. Inner thigh moving, inner right thigh moving down, outer right thigh moving down. Push through the sole of the foot. Tilt your pelvis so the low back comes off the floor a little bit. And then, pull. As you're pulling the ankle, the left ankle towards you, the left foot is trying to move away. I mean, the left ankle is pushing away. Stretch the right arm up and then go on the rack. Someone's pulling your ankle, your left ankle, right ankle, and your right foot. But keep the psoas down, pull it down, pull the low belly back up and in. Oh, yeah. And stretch it out. Stretch both arms overhead. Stretch through both legs. Get the back of the thighs down. And release. All right. Huh? I know. And what we'll do is check at the end of class. And usually if I've worked it hard enough, you'll be able to get your thighs closer. Yeah. All right. Come on over. Roll over. Roll over. Roll over. It's a kid's song, right? All right. Hands and knees. So we'll do the alternate arm leg with, I call it gull wing arm leg. So before you'll be looking straight down, but essentially we'll lift the right leg and the right arm, but we're kind of right leg, left arm. Yeah. But you're lifting it like this is what the arm is doing, cactus, and the leg is kind of doing the same thing. Now notice it'll be easier to lift the foot than the knee, to get the knee up as well. And then try to balance your sacrum. So here's, yeah, and to keep you honest, put a hard brick on there. No, so I can lift it, but I'm hiking the hip. Can you lift it without tipping? And you can try a block back there. It's soft, it won't kill you. All right, so come in, right leg, left arm, and pull it up, right? And then just kind of close it in. It's slow. You've got to keep the core stable. Inhale, open the gull wing doors, and exhale. Now here you should be feeling your piriformis a little bit, the glutes. Pull it up. Oh, it's just 3. My PT guy has me do 2 sets of 15. 4. I know. Let's do 2 more. Slow. Pull it up with control. Oh. One last one. Una más. Oh. And release. Shake off any way you want to. Sit back. Whatever feels good. That's a simple, simple exercise. There's nothing too fancy about it, but I get the look from Sarah.
Simple.
Why don't you go back into quarantine?
You can do the 2 reps of 15.
There you go, right? I didn't say I did them fast. All right, side B. So you've got to set, and also you want to be careful that you're not rounding to do this. That's why having the block here means you've got to keep that little, I call it the perky tilt of the pelvis, right? So this is the little perky butt where you're coming out. This is like shy and I don't know if I'm good enough kind of butt. Now I will tell you, as a white Anglo-Saxon derivative girl growing up in a small town in Florida, we were taught to like get, you didn't want a butt, right? You wanted to like, took me a long time to get a curve in the low back. All right, side B. Which is side B arms? I've forgotten. Okay. Oh, yeah. And you pause at the top there. You do it slowly enough to know that you're not rounding the back, you're not tipping the hip. Oh, how many is that?
2.
Okay, it felt like 7. 3. Do 3 more. And you hold at the top for a beat or 2. Oh, one last one. Oh, and release. Knees wide apart, toes together. Come back in. You can put a block under your head so the head's not hanging below the shoulders. And just rest in a wide open child's pose. That will help the psoas widen as well. All right, come back up. And it's better to do this with your foot off the mat, like this, but I'll show it this way. So, because I want this to slide, I'm going to slide over and do like a half a split. So with your right leg out, do an angle here. Okay. And you slide out. So if the foot's off the floor with the right leg out, and it's like you're doing a half a split, but you've got to work through the feet, pull the toes, both feet are working. Oh yeah, and just hang there just a tiny bit.
Is the foot out flat on the floor or on the side, Marianna?
The straight leg?
No, the other one.
Oh, the bent leg, let's see. It's kind of like as Jill said, it's kind of like a weird half frog, the
Okay.
upright frog. Does that make sense? So I've got the inner edge of the foot is moving towards the floor. The inner heel may not get to the floor, but it's kind of working that way. You feeling the goodies? Mhm.
Feeling it on the left side or the right side?
Oh, I'm just feeling it. I feel it kind of slightly different. Come back. And change sides. So it's kind of like a half splitty froggy thing. The wrong shorts, the wrong trousers.
Sorry.
You ever see the
sorry,
Wallace?
y'all.
You ever see the Wallace and Gromit?
That's good.
It's a little cartoon animated claymation kind of thing. The wrong trousers. That's great. All right, you've got to work the feet, otherwise your knees are going to take it. Can you flex your back foot? Yeah, the bent foot. There you go. Yeah, and try to work it down. All right, come on down. Yeah, there you go. Do you feel that a little bit? Huh?
That's a good in front of the TV.
That's a good in front of the TV stretch. It is. It's quite nice. All right, take a dog. Oh, unfurl. Now, where is the psoas here? That's why if you're tilting your hips, if you're rounding the low back, then your psoas is coming forward. So bend the knees a lot and lift, think about lifting your inner low belly way up, lift the sits bones way up, keep the knees as bent as you need to, because if your hamstrings are tight, in fact, if your hamstrings are tight and you stretch them straight, do you notice how the low back kind of starts to round? So that's why we keep a little bend in the knees so the sits bones can go. Again, we want a little perky butt, little lift it up, nice. There's nothing perky about this butt. All right, oh, bend your knees as you walk your hands back to your feet. Come into a full or half forward bend. Half forward bend is where the back is long, you're not rounding the back. And in fact, in a full forward bend, the sacrum, the top of the sacrum, the top of the hips should be lower than the tailbone. Then you can round the back. That keeps the spine healthy and happy. Oh, yeah. And just here, find your little micro bend place, little micro bend, micro straighten right at the edge of the stretch. It's a tiniest little movement. And if you widen your feet apart, Pamela, that will make life a little kinder. And then widen your knees. There you go. Public bathroom squat. Yeah, there you go. Now you do a little micro bend, micro straighten. Hands on your hips, come up halfway. Inhale to come up all the way and rise up. All right. Now there's some therapy people, PT people that say, if you've got short psoas, let's work the feet. Because you've got this back fascial chain and the psoas is attached back here with all the back fascial chain stuff. We'll go into that some other time. The little bitty ball, if you've got a different size ball, that's fine. And yes, hold on to a wall if you need it. But here's where you're going with this guy. Whoops. You're stepping right here, the ball of this is like the leathery ball of the foot. You're going to press, slow, hard presses. And most of the foot, all of the foot that you can get on the floor, and just pause and breathe there a minute. And you'll feel yeah. And then just move it over a smidge to the base of the next toe. And it's like stepping on a rock. Yeah.
Cat litter on the middle of the line.
And move. Oh, that.
I'm fine.
Oh, yeah, that hurts. Yeah. So keep pressing it over, but keep the foot on the floor. Keep the heel definitely on the floor, but the toes might be able to get down on the floor. Work out to the baby toe side. Yes, this will pop you up. It's better than drugs. And now we're going to work this place called the bubbling spring. So I think here's the leathery part of the ball of the foot right here, and the leathery part of the heel. Then this little slightly almond shape is what I call the soft part of the arch. You're going to go right at the top of the almond right there. And pretty much your toes can be on the floor, and you just breathe a minute. How much weight? So that's why you use the back foot, right? You can adjust the weight. You don't want to go slamming into the pain because the body will pull back away from it. The nervous system says, there's an idiot driving this truck, and so it puts on, it's like those automatic breaker things on the cars. It's like now just start to kind of move it a little bit over to the inner edge of the upper arch. right kind of below the ball of the foot. And just, he is, Paul is on. Jill was asking if Paul was on.
I have his therapy balls at the house.
Okay, she has your therapy balls at the house, so you'll
Oh,
be getting
perfect.
a
Okay.
present soon. He said, thanks. All right, now move it right to the center of the arch, the top. So we have this plantar fascia. If you've ever had plantar fasciitis, you know pain. And it's kind of broad here, right, kind of big, and then it leads here. So we're working right in the middle and have the toes and the heel on the floor and just put whatever pressure and just breathe there a minute. Yeah, just soften, breathe, soften, breathe, soften, breathe, soften, breathe. So they're the therapists who feel like this help. If this is super, super tight down there, so as above, so it is as below. I don't know how to do that, but anyway, you get it. Yeah, don't roll, press. Yeah, that kind of gets the nervous system a little cranked up. And then kind of move to the outer edge of the middle arch. Oh. This is good to do I mean, we do some version, you can do it with the spiky balls, you can do, but it's just different to change size of balls. Now start to work towards, so you're gonna go right here in front of the leathery part of the heel. That's where the plantar fascia comes together right here. And yes, that's the face. Amy's got the face. I love it. Beginners often, not beginners, but people new to us when we do these weird things, are afraid to make the face. And so they're kind of going, you know, like that. But Amy's an old hand. She makes the face right away. Like it's the face like, this woman must be crazy, right? But this is intense. And if you've never done this and your plantar fascia are really tight, this will be intense. As Sarah and I have learned, the more we do it, the less horrible it feels. And then press out. Yes, what?
This is more intense than the big ball. This is the first time
Yeah,
I've used the little one. This is more
the baby
intense.
ball. Yeah, the spiky ball and the tennis ball and they work great. And in a pinch, they're wonderful. This one digs in where the bigger balls will not go.
It's a new level.
This is a new level. All right, stand. Oh. And so here's the test. Do your forward bend and see if that hamstring is a little more agreeable.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel how the other one is tight? So see, is that magic? That's magic to me.
Well, and I feel like my right foot is like flatter up on the.
Yeah, the foot just kind of behaves in a way that it looks like it's with the earth. Come on up. All right, work side B. I wanted to,
Yelling at me because it's not here.
yeah,
Let's see what our hip does on the next one.
yeah. But isn't that amazing? So just working the bottom of the feet, that affects the whole hamstring plus the back, and it's not going to pull on the, cause you to pull on the psoas. So that's where these therapists think, well, maybe the feet and the psoas can't work one without the other. Huh?
The knee bone's connected.
That's right, thigh bone. All right, so you're pressing out across the leathery part of the ball of the foot, the base of each toe. Oh,
Did some of this Monday.
I did you good, yeah, yeah. And then right at the top of the soft part of the arch, right where it's kind of pointing, right as it comes up to the ball of the foot, and just breathe there a minute and relax. Try to soften. And then start just kind of a slow zigzag, like come to the inner arch, kind of just under the ball of the foot. We're working towards that ugly middle spot. Oh, did you? Yeah, I thought I did. I may not have said that, but yes, go across all the toes if you haven't already.
She rushing you?
Am I rushing you?
I thought we skipped something.
That's all right. And work that. So I find these outer parts of the arch are quite tender. The soft part of the arch are tender as well. And eventually get right to that middle place. You know, it's the one that you're like, I don't want to put too much weight there. And breathe. So these little bouncy balls, guys, are like the ones that are at Target or dollar store or something that the kids want, and they
have smiling faces.
They have smiling faces. These, some of them do, some of them don't. But there's like super bouncers, and these I think are the 1-inch ones, and then I have some 1 1/4. All right, and just kind of start to work towards the back of my belly. Yeah. The outer side arch is really So tender. So this will prevent plantar fasciitis. And if you have plantar fasciitis, it will heal it. It'll be very painful, but you have to go easy, you know. And also sometimes they say to like freeze a water bottle and work over a frozen water bottle because it will help reduce the swelling a little bit. And then right in front of the heel, right where the plantar fasciitis comes together. Yeah, and it hurts different on the I mean, it hurts both sides, but some places make me pray more than others. Jaw is soft. And then you can press on the leathery part of the heel. It's just kind of nice to press the outer heel and find some space. It's just not as tender because it's more padded. It's got more calluses on it.
Deserves attention.
It deserves some love. It does. All right. And you can swallow your bone. No. All right. And now we're ready. Let's go. When you're finished, I'm going to do a knee down lunge. So I recommend a blanket under the kneecap unless you got tough knees. Yeah. Now, if you have a dog or a cat,
Feeling
it's
better now.
yeah, right. I'm telling you, it's like if you do this in the morning, you don't miss coffee. If you miss your coffee, I mean, you really perks you right up. All right, step to the top of your mat. Do a couple of standing poses before we come down. All right. Inhale, rise up. So feel yourself push all the way from the core of the pelvis down through those happy feet. You feel like you can lift and spread your toes more and push down through 4 corners of the feet. Lift your inner arch, lift your outer arch, and then rise up. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, step the left leg back, straight leg lunge, and lower the back knee. So here's the thing, we think of this as a psoas stretch. The front shin is straight up and down, so don't let the knee come over. But if you push the left pelvis forward, this will get really hard and you're pushing the psoas forward. So what you have to do is tuck your toes, pull your toes, back toes isometrically forward, pull your back knee forward as you're pulling your front foot back, and you'll feel a little softening. Not too soft, but you feel a little, you're pulling the hip crease back. You're not trying to push into the hip crease. Does that make sense? Then stretch the left arm. You have your right arm on your forearm, right forearm on your thigh. Pull up, reach over, and without popping, you don't want to push the thigh bone forward. You want the head of the thigh bone to stay back. Reach back and look back. Oh. Twisty, twisty, twist. Oh. And come in. And then bring the arm up, straight up, and tilt over to the right. So you're pulling the left side long, long, long. Legs are strong and you're not getting hard. The inner left groin is still lifting up a little bit. There's a little bit of a bend in the crease there. Don't push the hip forward. Oh, and release.
If you're doing it right, is it stretching?
Yeah, and this kind of gets where you need to go. So if your quad is tight, you will feel that. But just be careful that you feel the smash. I mean, you can do it a little bit, but be careful that you don't feel that push forward. You feel a little pinch in the low back if I'm pushing too far forward, and it's too intense here. It's like you're stressing that joint forward, and you want the top of the thigh bone to stay back in the hip socket. That's why if you drag the back knee forward, seesaw principle, back knee comes forward, the top of the thigh bone, right? So if this is coming forward here, then this is going to stay back, right? All right.
Scissor your leg.
Yes, thither the legs. Yes, so scissoring the legs. Scissoring the legs is that back toes and back knee are acting like they're trying to lift up, but they're not. Front foot's trying. So how would you stand up from here? You'd have to pull the legs together. So you do that until just before you stand up. Slow-mo jump switch. All right. So again, keeping the back foot engaged too. Now you don't have to bend. Some people have some problems with their toes and their toes won't tuck. You can do this, but you have to push down. So I find it harder. In fact, untuck your toes and push the top of the foot down as you're pulling the back knee forward. I find that a lot more work personally, a little easier. So do either. Front knee straight up and down. So the first one is the clock. So again, inner right thighs moving back. It's like you're trying to broaden your sits bones. They won't move, but you're widening your inner thighs apart. Keep that as you reach far, far forward. Look up, follow your fingertips. Look all the way back. Stay here in the twist a bit, a beat or two. And then come down. Bring the arm up and come over to a side twist. So drag the back knee forward, front foot back. So you're softening in the groin just slightly. Then long side stretch. Now I feel it different on each side because my left side is super, super tight and short lately. And release. Step back, downward facing dog. Oh. And walk your hands back to your toes. Forward bend the back of your mat. Come up halfway. And then inhale all the way up. So we're going to do, before we go to the floor here, a last standing pose. And it is the psoas has to work here. And again, psoas muscle is kind of like the diaphragm. I can kind of sense it, but it's not like my bicep, right? I got my bicep. I know where that is. Got my tricep. I mean, that's pretty obvious. The quads, you can feel them. They call them the superior muscles, the big outer muscles. But the inferior inside muscles, they're a little trickier to find. So, we do, and you can do this with your back to the wall. As we do a half moon pose, but it's going to be a dynamic one. I'll show it at the wall. You can also do it in the middle of the air too. So what we'll do is come up and then tap down. Come up. This leg has to be strong. It's not back here. It's a little bit in front of you, the lifted leg, but I'm coming down. Oh, and lifting. So a little bit of piston work there in the middle of the room. So let's start with the right foot forward and step the left foot back. The right hand block comes off the little toe side, a little diagonal to the right, and you lift up and then tap down. Lift up, inhale and exhale, tap down. And the back leg is strong. The back leg's really working. Slow tap down. With the breath, you have to bend the front knee. The hip is, well, it rotates down a little bit. You're not coming into full half moon pose. You're kind of staying at that angle. I'm not moving the hips so much as working the standing leg, right? The standing leg is bending and straightening, bending and straightening. And if you don't touch the floor, that's okay. All right, release, come to a standing position and just pause a minute. I'm a little dizzy person. And side B. All right, so you're off which is the foot? Left foot is the standing foot. So Debbie, in answer to your question, my hips are kind of at a diagonal. I'm not coming into full half moon pose. You can keep your top hand on your hip. It's more like a little oil derrick, right? I'm coming up a little bit and then I'm tapping down. But you're working the back leg, the toes are spread, the foot is strong, and you're kind of tapping. And even if you don't tap down all the way, the knee doesn't like it, that's fine. But you're bending and straightening the bottom leg a little bit. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, and release. All right. Wobble your way to the floor. Does it? Because you're moving up and down? All right. All right. I recommend sitting on a blanket for this next sequence. And you can have your strap near you. So the first one is sit in sort of your regular Baddha Konasana. And Baddha Konasana is where the heels are pretty close to as close to the hips as your knees will allow, and your low back, your hips. So if I pull my heels all the way in and I'm rounding, I've lost the point. So I've got to move the heels away, got to tilt, get the little perky hips, right? The top of the pelvis is just spilling forward and pulling on the ankle. So if that's hard to do, move your heels a little farther away from you. Press the feet together, particularly the outer edges, and spread your toes. Come on, toes. Yeah. And then pull up and lengthen, try to get out of your hips, get long in the side body. And just notice, and then tilt the pelvis forward. So it's not about rounding forward. You're lifting the heart actually and pulling it, keeping the shoulder blades on the back until you feel the natural breaks in the hips. Do you feel them? They're just like, nope, don't go any further. All right, come out of it, shake off. Block, narrow way. As the block gets wider, I will recommend you to start moving your feet farther away from your hips, because again, if we're rolling to the back of the sits bones, that's not good. You're tightening, shortening the psoas. You want to lift, take the sits bones back, and the pelvis tilts forward. Now press, and you can lean back. This will help you lengthen the spine. Push, particularly the baby toe side of the foot, into the blocks. And then from the push in, you're extending out through the thighs, the knees, lifting up. And release. Shake off. Turn the block middle way. So this is narrow, middle, and that's going to be wide. So middle way. Again, feet come a little farther away from the hips each time, because we want to be able to tilt. And if tilting the hips forward doesn't work, take the hands back so you can lift the chest and lengthen the spine. Now push the feet into the block, particularly the baby toe side. Toes can be down or lifted, whatever you want, but push the outer edge of the foot in and then extend from the core of the pelvis out. Okay, release. Now the widest, and you can do 2 blocks if your feet feel like they're too big for the block. All right, and again, the feet are a little farther away from the hips now. Push the feet in, and you can, if you can hold on and tilt forward, that works, or back and push, but push the feet, the inner edge. I notice the inner edge of the outer edge of my feet want to pull away from the block. Do you feel that? I feel like I'm pushing more with the big toe side of the foot. So push more at the baby toe side of the foot. I feel it in the inner thighs more when I do that. And then extend, push, extend, squeeze, and release. Shake it off. I know, right? And then come back to your regular Baddha Konasana and notice you might be a little deeper into it than you were before. And if you can hold on to the ankles, you don't want to pull the feet up. That will sickle them. You want the inner edges of the feet to press down into the floor and towards each other. Hold on to the front of the ankles. And if your elbows can kind of iron the inner thighs out, right? And then tilt forward. So you're not rounding forward. The top of the pelvis is tipping forward. And if you don't come forward much, that's fine. Oh, how's this feel on your hips, Sarah?
Feels great.
Good. Okay, good. All right. Release. Right. Right. Okay. And then little glute strengthener. So the feet and legs are kind of parallel. So the feet are about outer hip width apart. Feet are flexed. And again, sitting up on enough of a blanket that it will help you. You can sit up on a lot of blanket, a lot of bolster if the hamstrings are really tight, but this will help you tilt the sit bones, because even though, Amy, your hips are pretty open, this gives, even if I'm like almost sliding off the blanket kind of helps lift the buttocks up. It just gives you a little lift. Then I like the double wrap just so I don't have to use my fingers so much, and pull back. So I'm having to push my feet. And this helps you, if your elbows are bent, this will help you lift your chest so you can lengthen up. And now on the exhale, push the outer edges of the feet against the strap, like you're trying to take your legs out, but they won't go anywhere. And then on the inhale, you just soften. So don't keep this at a 24/7 push. Exhale, push. So you're pushing from the outer edges of the feet. And then inhale, soften. Exhale, push. Oh. You'll start to feel the glutes and the hip flexors work a bit, as well as your inner thigh muscles are having to work some to push out as well. Do one more. Push, and if you bend the elbows, that helps you lift. Sometimes if the arms are straight, that will cause us to round the upper back, or it encourages it, let's put it that way. I think it's harder to lift up. All right, release, shake off. And then one more version, the super wide. That's why we have the 10-foot straps, because the 6 and 8 don't work. All right, here, it's just like if this was driving kind of a 1-horse carriage, this is like 6 white horses. And you don't want to go to your max. So go to your max and come in a little bit. The knees and the toes are pointing up to the ceiling, and then pull back. So you've got to pull, use your body here, because these horses are hard. Now with the inner edges of the thighs moving down to the floor and the outer edges of the thigh moving towards the floor, right? So here's the thing. We either roll out or we tend to roll in. So you want neutral, right in the middle. And now exhale, push out against the strap. You feel that in the glutes there, and on the inhale, you soften. So it's to your breath. Exhale, you're feeling everything work and engage as you push out. Inhale, soften. So this will help strengthen the muscles around the psoas and the hips. So the psoas doesn't have to overwork. A lot of times we just make the psoas do things it doesn't need to be doing. Oh. If your glutes can stand a couple more, do a couple more. Push out. So do you feel the back of your thighs getting to the floor more? Yeah, I feel them. They're just like really getting down there. All right, and release. I know. Do a quick 90-90. So with your right shin parallel to the short edge, the front edge of your mat. And I like a blankie under the back knee, the left knee, just because it's on the hard floor by now, usually, or so it's a version of pigeon, but it's just a little more open version. So it's like you have a right angle in your front knee and a right angle in your back knee, and your inner edge of the back foot's on the floor. And then take the media elbow, the middle of the middle of the body, and try to cross your shin. You can, if you need blocks under, yeah, there you go, baby. Have 2 under each elbow so you're even. Notice the weight. If your right shin is forward, your right elbow is heavier on the ground, but you're trying to get it open. So Amy, what I'd encourage you to do, rather than drop the head below there, is to put the head here so it stays in line with the spine and doesn't over round the upper back. So what you want to do is soften between your shoulder blades and get your sternum to the floor. Oh yeah, do you feel that a little deeper? Yeah, so we don't want to round the upper back. Oh yeah, mama. I know, I do it in the morning class a lot. Oh. It's a version of the pigeon that doesn't hurt the knees, and it's a little easier on the hips if you've got some hip stuff going on. And then you can just open up and do it to the back. I like to just open up and drop the other, like here, or you can switch around, whatever you want. Adjust yourself here. Yeah, the other leg. You can either, yeah, you can do that, but you have to flip your blanket over to the other side. Yeah, or you can just turn around. And then the legs are working here. The feet are spread. You're really pressing through the soles of the feet. And then the head stays in line with the spine. The head does not drop lower than the shoulders. Get the head so it's even with the shoulders. And you see if you can lift your head a little bit more, because your upper back is rounding a lot. I'll show you. I know I'm used to doing it that way too, but what you want to do is take this part, draw this in. Now take the sternum. Oh yeah. Now just rest your head on the edge of the block. Forehead. Yeah. And you're trying to not encourage upper rounding back, right? Do you feel that deeper into the hip? Yep. There's a reason we round away from it. I always like to say, my body's not stupid. I act stupid sometimes, but the body knows, it understands clearly what I'm not understanding. And so that's why the body will give us pain, because we haven't understood the early warning signs and we just keep moving, or illness or something, you know, colds or immune system issues. And inhale your way back to center. All right. I recommend for this one particularly to open the upper back, and it will help to get the back of the thighs to the floor. The T blanket Shavasana. So this is how the blanket comes off the stack. You'll fold it the narrow way. One way here. Just gives a little lift to the upper chest. You can also do a supported fish pose with the blocks if you want a little bit more. Then the other blanket, the same way, narrow way. This roll will be under your neck. So you want the fold, not the fringe towards you. And you sit on the floor, not on the blankie. And this edge of the blanket, you'll have to adjust. You want it to hit like kind of a little, not quite at the back waist, maybe a little bit below the back waist where it feels good. And then take the roll and put it under your neck. So you're not trying to lift your head so much as, then the knees can stay bent. You can knock them in, or I recommend trying to straighten the legs and see if you can get the back of your thighs closer to the floor. What does that feel like, Pamela, when you stretch them? You don't have to leave them there. Now flex your feet. There you go. Heels stay down, but flex your feet. And you feel them down? You can go back to bending your knees if you want to, but yeah, right? Yeah, so that's the more resistant one. I can see it. It's a tiny, tiny bit higher. You can keep the knees bent or legs straight. Oh, but just release into this. Then the arms just palms up at your side, help you open the chest and get a deeper, fuller breath. And with this slight, what the blanket's doing is making your pelvis tilt a little bit, the way we're talking about tilting, little perky tilt to it. And that's allowing the psoas to soften. So this is a passive psoas release, either knees bent, and knees bent, it releases even more dramatically. Begin to deepen your breath. And then slowly invite movement in the fingers and the toes, hands and feet, stretching from the periphery in towards the center, moving the arms and legs, stretching, yawning, moving the muscles in the face, and gradually bend your knees and roll to the side and rest there for a few moments. No hurry to pop up. Just taking these last precious moments of being fully in this moment and drawing in the benefits of your practice. Rolling a little more towards the floor, use the strength of your arms to press yourself up to a seated position and sit well any way that allows the back to be long and the hips to be easy. And just notice if there have been any shifts from the beginning of class to the end. That was my antidote to riding on a plane last night, so I feel like I'm back on land again. Draw your palms together in front of the heart center. Namaste. You guys.